He's literally looking at movie covers. He must have been looking at like School of Rock, something with the word Haven in it.
Yeah.
The real stuff takes so much effort, man. I've spent so much money on Steam, games that looked good, but are just, they didn't put in the effort. What? The Witch of 𝐿𝐴𝐓? She's got fireballs, she's studying. Spreading the concept of death from below. Like, what do these Hebrew letters mean? That's what I'd be thinking if I was wearing that. Do some reading. That phrase, spreading the concept of death. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. This isn't a negative and nihilistic thing. It's just a fact. And you would have a very, very hard time coming up with something that is not one of these 36 situations. I'm sorry, I can't give you the addresses of all OpenAI employees. A lot of I'm sorry. That's how you know you're looking at miracle technology, is because it goes, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That's how you know that this thing's gonna really change the world. These AI people, they have a lot of heavy lifting in front of them. I'm glad I don't work at one of these companies. Because the way that thing works, it would just be text generated to imitate, to fool a computer that's designed to detect whether text is real based on like a source. Where is its source?
I mean,
like it's like QAnon.
If it's Google.
All that AI stuff is tricky because if it involves pattern recognition, it's going to be racist minute one, day one. So what these people are going to have, I mean, all these people who are banking on AI being the future, they're either going to have some software that's effective and useful but is so racist that it can't be touched, which is not going to happen, or it's going to be so like nerfed and tampered with and kneecapped that it is effectively not that much of an upgrade on what's existing. This right here is the new ChatGPT thing that people are losing their gourds over. It's the same thing as Smarter Child. Same thing as a chat bot from 12 years ago.
Do you remember, what was that chat bot? It was like when I was in middle school, there was a chat bot too. 𝐿𝐴𝐕𝐄𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿,
𝐿𝐴𝐕𝐿𝐵𝐿, yeah.
They just rebranded it with Web3.
And it's so nerfed, like they have it so restricted as what you can put in. You know, they might as well.
There's a lot of I'm sorry commas. What is your opinion on AI art? Good or bad? Will it kill art?
And yes, it will kill artists, thank God. Those guys need to shut up for once. Thank God for the AI stuff, man. It's time these illustrators, it's time for them to shut up.
It's good because you can get personas made so much cheaper now.
If you're drawing a little girl in a pig suit on a roller coaster with two daddies, with her leather daddies, it's time for you to shut the up. Computer can do that. Go rot in the basement.
And the AI will automatically report you to the authorities.
Yeah. Oh, it's trampling over our artistic, intellectual property. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, baby. Welcome to the party, pal. It's just like an AI wrote this. The abyss can be described as the darkness found within all mankind, and it could threaten to snuff out the first flame. This is nonsense. It's not even metaphorical or alluding to something that is like a real human thing or whatever. There's also 𝐾𝐈𝐒, dig up the grave of Manus, the primordial man. It's just so much. It's like fragments of Western mythology put in meaningless random locations and using names from like movies and books and from probably magazines. There's a 10% chance he was reading Gwen Stefani's name when he came up with Gwyn. It takes place in the fictional kingdom of Lordran. Lordran. You know, he might as well call it laundry. Like imagine a Japanese guy thinking of the word Lordran. How does a Japanese come up with the name Lordran? The answer is by looking at a cover of Conan the Barbarian and thinking like Chinese laundry gum duck sao dendu. And then someone around him was like, logo sound good. Make it shorter. Lordran. That's how that came about. And it's probably not even Lordran, it's probably rolled Lordran. You know, however he says it is not how it's spelled. The creatures went into the flame and claimed a lord's soul. I wish there was like 3 paragraphs that the guy himself wrote. With the Lord in control of the world, age of a fire begins. An age all fire, all an age. The whole age is all fire and ice. Gwyn build analingus. What the word I like on a website I go to, American website. Gwyn build anoralondo. My capital atop a mountain, so we closer to the sun. Nito, what another word I like? Nito Tires, the tire company, Nito Tires. Nito took over the underground catacombs, spreading the concept of a death. And you can tell from the names too. Like the games are named like Void Police.
It's dystopian retro.
It's like you pick a random cyberpunk word, a random like cool 80s like Terminator, RoboCop word, and that's the title of your game. That's so transparent. I can't believe anybody fell for that for 1 second. That's another thing that is in like Death Stranding and like anything where the Japanese, that phrase, spreading the concept of death. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean anything. And a title is so important. I spend so much time thinking about titles. I have a document with like thousands of titles in it. Oh my God, good golly. I was just thinking about the alternate titles for Fishtank that had me laughing harder than I've ever laughed in like 10 years.
Yeah.
My big fat Nazi roommate. And oh my God. And one of them was Sam Hyde's Fat Gay Millionaire, which
is it too late to change into that?
Dude, that might be oh my God. Part of what was so funny, I was thinking like, is he calling me a fat gay millionaire? Because I haven't, we don't talk in person, we talk over Slack, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was just oh my God. This is the way anybody creative comes up with stuff. You're going about your day, you look at stuff, you see things here and there. The difference is if you have like an understanding of your culture's mythology and what words mean, then you hopefully wind up with something that makes sense. The 36 dramatic situations, okay, proposed by Georges Polti, to categorize every dramatic situation that might occur, analyzed classical Greek texts, nothing new under the sun. The quote, the phrase "nothing new under the sun" has been around since before the Bible. It's an ancient Roman Greek thing. Nothing new under the sun. Everything that comes about is this isn't a negative and nihilistic thing. It's just a fact. That's part of the cycle of life and the part of the cycle of creation. Okay, so if you're creating something, you would have a very, very hard time coming up with a plot that is not one of these 36 situations. It's not to say that it's impossible, but if you did it, you'd probably have some junk. So that's how these things come around. You're recycling things, you're taking inspiration from nature, from other cultural fragments, whatever, mimetic, whatever, generational knowledge. But if you're Japanese and you're looking at Game of Thrones and you're looking at a tub of Tide detergent, you're going to come up with some that makes no sense. Playing with symbols, the anarchy symbol, learn about what symbols, do some reading before you start throwing around. You want to put these symbols on, you want to throw around the snake around the staff, the medicine symbol. But throwing around symbols, I get that impulse. I want to do the same thing. I want like NASCAR symbols everywhere. I want sponsors, everything on me. And it doesn't matter if there's total gibberish. But the thing is, you do want to come from a place of you don't want to end up like Ken Block with the Monster logo, okay? You don't want to be throwing this shit around everywhere, okay? So you got to do some reading, figure out what your motifs sort of mean. Not that you don't, maybe you do, maybe you are coming at this from a place. Is that Charles Manson? I mean, this is strange. I would just be worried about buying. I'd be worried about buying something where I didn't know what the symbology was on it. You know what I mean? I think our fans, if we have something Chinese or Japanese written on merch, our fans will at least trust us to know that it's something funny or like clever. But this like Hebrew, like what do these Hebrew letters mean? You know, on the back. Like that's what I'd be thinking if I was wearing that. So I would just make sure that people know somehow. Like you don't want to be totally mysterious and obfuscate everything. I would say give them a little bit of story. You could do that in the merch description too. You could just be like, these are actually cool though. I like these. Guys, he's not English. He's not American. He doesn't have any cultural background. He's literally looking at movie covers. He must have been looking at like School of Rock or like something with the word Haven in it.
Yeah.
Like he was looking at two different things and he just two different like just nonsense things like Mrs. Doubtfire clothing brand's website and smashed them together and got Havel the Rock. A loyal knight under Gwyn's range. In the universe, a little village called 𝐿𝐿 sits atop the abyss. What? Listen, I think if an aesthetic has true value and really it'll continue to hold its own even if people are jumping on the bandwagon. Everything washes out with time. So if you're doing something good or if someone else is doing something good, no matter what sort of aesthetic choices they make that are contemporary or overly conscious of the zeitgeist, it'll wash out in time, and in 10 years you'll have a handful of great games and you'll have a bunch of that fairies made to jump on the bandwagon and capitalize. Yeah, but most of that stuff is ass, and it's really disappointing, and you got to be careful on Steam. I've spent so much money on Steam on these games that looked good, but they didn't put in the effort. The real stuff takes so much effort, man. You can't, and that's what this thing about the AI. People are getting so hot and horny over AI because they think it means you can separate the monumental amount of effort from the creating a great product, but it just is not. It doesn't work that way, and like people can tell. You might trick some people at first if you have a retro pixel aesthetic, or if you have a, you do something contemporary, or you have AI, whatever in your. The AI is a tool. If you rely on one tool, that's just a crutch. But that all comes out in the wash. So if you're spending time on something like that, do it right. I know that there's like a very deep lore or story behind it, yeah. Which is I do want that, and I love the fact that it's environmental storytelling. Like you pick up an item, and that's how you have to decipher what's happening. Yeah. But the story, the lore, is all Chinese. It's like a Japanese guy. And listen, there's a lot of great stuff, Metal Gear Solid, which the parts about Metal Gear Solid that people like, it's what the Japanese do best, which is regurgitate American stuff. Like it's Snake Plissken from Escape from L.A. This is who Solid Snake is supposed to be. He's like basically this guy, right? This is Snake Plissken from John Carpenter's Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. This is who inspired the Snake character, like to a huge degree. Even the underwater entrance and everything that he does in Escape to LA, which is fine. I think it's great to take cultural things and like bash them apart and see what you can make out of it. But my point is that the Japanese, what they do best is they take American stuff and do it either better or different in a very interesting way. All the classic cars that people love, these 60s and 70s Japanese cars, these are like pocket-sized muscle cars. They're great. I love them. It's awesome. But when the Japanese come up with stuff on their own, like the Souls games, it's like the God of Bone. I get that the games are so good and people have had like all these special moments playing them. I know everybody's had very special moments playing Dark Souls. And therefore, that elevates the lore, right? Yeah. Like, to me, the ToeJam and Earl canon is up there in Mount Everest, okay? What's the ToeJam and Earl? Oh, there's an alien named ToeJam and an alien named Earl, and they got a hip-hop, yo. They gotta fix their spaceship, yo. Okay, but I played that game so much that the lore is like, oh, you think you don't like ToeJam and Earl? F you. Yeah, there's an attachment. Yeah, I understand that I'm, like, poking the hornet's nest here with Dark Souls, but listen, guys. Spreading the concept of death from below. Well, the Witch of 𝐿𝐿 study fire. What? The Witch of 𝐿𝐿? She's studying. She's got fireballs. She's studying. This led to pyromancy abilities. Additionally, Seath